Welcome, my name is Dawn Hayes. I'm excited to be able to share this practice with you today. You will need a blanket or a towel to give you a little bit of cushion and also a slippery surface. And you'll also find it helpful to have two blocks. If you don't have two yoga blocks, then a chair or a step stool would work really well as an alternative. Whenever you're ready, start on your back with the blanket under the back of your head and the back of your hips. And with your knees bent and the soles of your feet on the floor. As you start your practice today, check in with what's most noticeable. And ask yourself how you feel today. And if you were to take a scale of 1 to 10 and identify what and how you're feeling in this moment, where on that scale of 1 to 10 are you right now? And sometimes what happens is we move quickly along that scale where an hour ago you were somewhere else, and it'll continue to change throughout your day. And then as part of this check-in, this naming of what you're feeling and how you're feeling, are there two words that would describe some sort of experience that you're having, maybe mentally or emotionally, or perhaps even physically? And notice, sometimes these two words seem contradictory to one another, where you're feeling both tired and wired at the same time. Or some other combination of experiences that might at first seem really different from one another, but you're having at the same time and in the same moment here. And so as you check in with what it is you're noticing, acknowledge and continue to name and check in as you move throughout the practice. But also take time as you move to bring your attention and to your focus onto what you're feeling in your body, using your breath and the postures and movements and physical sensations to give you a little bit of a sense of the moment. And what physical sensations oftentimes show us in the body is that things come and they go. And so what might first appear quite intense changes quickly, or sometimes it lingers a little bit, but it starts to feel different in some way. So as you start to move today, stretch your legs out on the floor. So you're kind of like doing a supine Tadasana or mountain pose. And as you push out through your heels, pull your toes towards your face, almost like you're gonna out through the heels towards the wall. And as you spread your toes wide, can you imagine that the toe spreading also widens the bones of your feet? And now point and flex both feet at the same time in the same direction. Curling your toes in towards the soles of your feet and pointing them towards the floor as if you were making a fist with your feet, and then stretching the toes back towards your face as you pull the tops of the feet towards your shins. As you explore this movement a few times, notice what you feel in your calves And if you have the sticky surface of the mat underneath you, what is that grippy feeling like? And if you have the blanket underneath you, what is that slippery feeling like? And notice how your shoulders and your head are probably also sliding a little bit up and down on the floor as your heels go through this movement. And then relax your feet and your legs and let them rest for just a moment. Now point one foot and flex the other. So now they're moving opposite directions. And check in with how that feels on your ankles. And with hands resting on your hips, you might also notice they're moving a little bit too. And does one side feel a little different than the other today? And go ahead and relax your legs once again. Now just your right foot will make some circles. Go one direction with those circles a few times. And then change directions with those circles. Same foot. Reversing. Relax the right leg. Do the same thing with the left side. Make your circles in one direction. And then in the other direction. And then go ahead and relax your legs for a moment. Check in. When you're ready, bend your knees, bring soles of feet to floor, and take arms out to the sides. And tip both legs to the right like windshield wipers. Exhale, return knees to center. And tip both knees to the left. Exhale, return knees to center. And inhale, legs to right. Do this side to side at the pattern of your breath. Noticing how your feet are moving on the floor. And what happens when you spread the toes and really actively try to spread the bones of your feet as you move side to side. Notice if any other areas of your body are trying to help you spread your bones of your feet, like your hands. Then next time you're in the center, pause there for a moment, and can you stick the soles of your feet to the floor like there's rubber cement holding them in place? And without lifting the feet, can you tip knees a little bit to one side? And return to center. And again, without letting the sole of the foot come off the floor at all, can you tip the knees a little bit to the other side? This will be a lot smaller movement than the last round. And it's going to involve your ankles as well as your hips and your spine. So check in with that. How much is your hip moving off the floor to help you turn knees to one side? And when do you feel like the foot starts to peel off the floor a little bit? And what happens if you pause at that point where your foot starts to peel off the floor and just hold there for a moment? And then could you ease in a little bit farther and pause there for a moment? And try on the other side where you linger with knees tipping over to one side and really prioritize the inner and outer edge of both feet staying on the floor. And notice if one foot has more of your attention today because it has to work a little harder, or does it change as you move your knees to one side? And then go ahead and come back to center. Hug your knees up into your chest and rock a little bit side to side. And when you're ready, roll to one side and press your way up to the table position. You can fold your blanket up and have it underneath your knees. And if it helps you, you can fold it to have a little extra height or a little extra cushion. And then with toes tucked under, start to sink your hips back towards your heels. Almost like you're going to do child's pose, but your toes are tucked under like you're doing a plank or a chaturanga. And notice what you feel in the toes, in the soles and the arches of your feet. And is there more weight towards your big toe or towards your pinky toe side of your foot? And then shift forward a little bit. Now point your feet so the toenails are on the floor, and start to experiment with shifting back towards your heels once again, and notice how this feels on the tops of your feet. And as you pause there, again, notice, is there more weight towards the big toe side of the foot or towards the pinky toe side of the foot? Like a sense of it kind of tipping or rolling out to the side. Shift forward, once again, toes tucked under, and this time you can walk your hands up your knees and come into what I call the happy feet pose. Some folks refer to it as broken toe pose, but that's just not a nice name. And your feet are happy when you come out of it. So that's where we're gonna focus on the impact of the shape. If it's really intense on your feet, take a block or some sort of lift under your knees. That can make it a lot easier. And then see how it is to focus more push into your big toe side of your foot. And if you have the block there, slide it off to the side, walk forward. Once again, toenails on the floor. See how it is to bring the knees close to one another. And then once again, sit back on the heels. If it's uncomfortable to have the blanket under your shins, you can always move it out to the side. But sometimes it's actually pretty helpful to give a little lift just almost at the shin where the ankle is. That can bring a lot of more ease into the shape here. Now when you're ready, shift your way into downward facing dog. So you'll tuck your toes under, lift your knees off the floor, and press and lift into the balls of your feet. So you lift your heels high, and then you send them back down towards the earth. And do that a couple times. Lift and lower feet, feeling ankles move. Then as you are in the downward facing dog, have one of your feet in the regular dog position, but take the other foot and bring the toenails to the floor so you're pointing that foot, kind of like we've been playing with today. That front of the ankle gets a lengthening position. Then switch sides. So the other foot gets that long front position as the other foot bears more of the weight. So the toes tucked under, ball of foot takes most of the weight as you experiment with toenails on the floor. Both feet into the toes tucked under position for your down dog. Now lift your heels, look forward, and launch your one foot forward to the top of your mat. The other foot meets it. Push into your feet, reach for the sky, Urdhva Hastasana. And exhale, arms by your sides, Samastitihi. Do a couple circles with your wrists, other direction. And on your next inhalation, reach your arms up for the ceiling, Urdhva Hastasana. Exhale, fold forward, diving towards your legs. Inhale, lift halfway, look forward, and exhale back to downward facing dog. Inhale into plank position. Exhale, downward facing dog. Try that a few times, moving forward and backward into your plank and the down dog. And notice the foot and ankle work here. How do your feet move at different parts of the journey, forward and backward? The next time you're in the plank, hold there. Pause for just a moment. What would it be like to push the floor a little farther away from you and grip your tippy fingers into the floor? When you're ready, slow motion chaturanga for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, cobra or shalabhasana, and exhale back to downward facing dog. You can move your blanket off to the side if you want. From your downward facing dog, lift your right leg up towards the ceiling and make a couple circles with your right foot and ankle. On your exhale, Bend your right knee and step the foot between your hands and lean forward and backward. Here's a great chance to have your hands on blocks. And as you lean forward and backward, really feel the back foot, ball of foot start to experiment with moving way back behind you, heel towards the floor, and then way forward, almost like you're a ballerina on the very tip of your left big toe. As you do that a couple times, check in with how your big toe helps to propel you forward. It's one of the things it does with every step you take walking in the world. And so how would it be to bring your blocks a little in front of you and to start to propel your back leg off the floor and back to the floor? Now, the more you reach your arms forward, the more leverage you're going to give yourself to shift your chest forward. So feel free to explore farther forward with the hands or closer in towards you with the hands to see how that changes your experience. It's almost like you're coming into warrior 3 here. I'm keeping my standing leg bent, but if you want to push to straight before you lower down, you can do that. As you do 1 or 2 more here, notice the way the back foot rolls off the floor and then to the floor. Can you do that in super slow motion, like a banana slug in slow motion on your iPhone? When you're ready, downward facing dog. Inhale forward into plank. Notice the difference between your 2 feet in the plank pose. Now, would it be possible for you to turn your right foot toenails to the floor in the plank and possibly do your chaturanga with 1 foot pointed, 1 foot tucked under? And inhale into cobra. You can keep your feet in that 1 tucked under, 1 pointed, or bring them both pointed. Exhale, downward facing dog. Lift your left leg up towards the ceiling. Make some circles with your left foot and left ankle. Go the other direction. This one makes a lot more noise for me. It's making these little pops. On your next exhale, step your left foot between your hands. Again, could be helpful to have your blocks. Experiment with leaning forward and backward, paying a lot of attention to your back foot and big toe. Noticing, kind of like you did in the down dog to plank, there's a similar journey happening with the ankle and with the weight in the foot. At some point in this experimentation, you can bring your blocks way in front of you and start to propel yourself off your back foot. By the way, propel is one of my favorite words, and I don't get to use it very often in the world, so I might say it a lot today. As you propel your way off the floor, notice what happens in the big toe, how different parts of it touch the floor as you lift and as you lower. You can keep your front leg bent the whole time. If it feels good to you, you can start to experiment with straightening your front leg more like warrior 3, feeling into hip, into leg, and connecting feet to floor, especially the transition of the back foot. Remembering that having blocks in hands next to your standing foot makes it a little bit more challenging in some ways. So you're welcome to try that out. As you do 1 or 2 more here, does this side get tired a little faster than the other side? Or does it seem like the stronger side? On your next exhale, back to downward facing dog. Inhale forward into plank. Now keep right toes as they are and point left foot so your toenails are on the floor like upward dog or cobra. And how would it be for you to do a chaturanga like this? And inhale, cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. From your downward facing dog, lift heels, look forward. Exhale, step or hop, feet to hands. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach for the sky. Exhale, arms by your sides. If balance feels a little wobbly today, or you're on carpet, you might find it helpful to move towards a bookshelf or a wall or some sort of support. With feet about hip distance apart, find one spot to look at so your drishti, your gaze is steady, and slowly lift your heels off the floor. Almost like you're wearing stilettos. Those are the really tall, spiky high heels, in case you're not familiar with that fashion choice. It's one that we don't often make in Santa Cruz. We're more of a flip-flop culture out here. So as you dig your big toes into the floor, pretend like you're making a fist with your feet. Then, when you're ready, in super slow motion, lower your heels towards the floor. Just before they touch, pause there and slowly let them lower. We'll do that again, but this time add the option to come into chair pose on your tippy toes, lifting heels high, grip toes into floor, then perhaps arms out or even on your support like the bookshelf or the wall. Start to bend your knees and come into chair pose with your heels off the earth. Notice how this asks different things of your legs than if you were to have your heels down, and challenges your balance. When you're ready, lift back up to standing, if possible, keeping heels lifted, and then slowly lower heels to floor. Now we'll do one leg in the chair pose, and the other leg you'll point your toes behind you like you did earlier in the down dog and the plank. So slowly start to sink down and into your standing leg, and then push back up to standing. And repeat that a couple times. If you get foot cramps here, my apologies. See if you can stay at a range just before you get the foot cramps, or you can experiment with some circles to kind of unwind or unravel the foot cramps. If it's working for you, try this a couple times. A way to make it a little easier on your foot is to bring it farther behind you. That can make it a little easier on the foot and on the ankle. When it's closer to your standing foot, it tends to be more demanding. Then switch sides. So again, pointing one foot back behind you and bending the standing knee to come into a chair pose shape. So you have a tiny bit of weight in the foot that's pointed, that toenails are on the floor. But most of the work is happening in your other leg and your standing foot. And you can again experiment with where your back foot is to see how that changes the experience for you. And again, can you tell which is your stronger leg? As you finish the one you're on, feet hip distance, bend your knees, come into a symmetrical chair pose. Sweep your arms up towards the ceiling. Exhale, fold forward, hinging from your hips. Inhale, lift halfway, lengthen. Exhale, step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, plank. Exhale, lower down, slow motion, chaturanga. Inhale, either cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, reach right leg up towards the sky. Make some circles with your right foot and ankle. Exhale, step forward for warrior two. Windmill your arms up, lift and hold. What would it be like to hold here for 30 seconds? Knowing that it's going to be 30 seconds, how low will you bring your front leg? Remembering that the lower it goes, the more demanding that is for your legs, for your torso. As you feel into torso and breath here, when you finish this last couple seconds, last breath, push your front leg straight. Take your back hand to your hip, and your front arm reaches over your front leg. And as you reach there, press a little more into your right foot. Now you might want to block for under your right hand, the front hand, for Trikonasana. Now as you look to your front foot, would it be possible to lift the ball of your foot off the floor as if you were pulling your foot off a gas pedal, as if you were Gumby and you could bring your right toes to touch your right shin? And how does that feel in the back of your right leg? Maybe it would be better to have a chair or 2 blocks under the right hand. Then reach top arm up towards the ceiling, and if it's appropriate, sweep it by your ear as you push your back heel into the floor. At any time, you can bring the ball of your front foot back to the earth and continue to soak into the feet. Now notice the outer edge of your back foot. If you remember when we tipped the knees earlier in the practice today, you might remember some of that work of keeping the pinky edge of the foot down, even when the leg is not lined up directly over the foot. On your next exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale into plank. Exhale, chaturanga, lowering to the earth. Inhale, either cobra or up dog as you prefer. And exhale back to downward facing dog. We'll do second side. Inhale, left leg lifts up, make some circles with your ankle. Go the other direction. Exhale, step forward, warrior 2. As you lift into the warrior 2, checking in with where you need to set yourself up to be here for 30 seconds without moving. As you root into your feet, as you grip into the earth, what support do your feet offer you here? And what can you do to build your endurance? Slowly push your front leg straight. Take your right hand, the back hand to your hip, and lean your torso out over your left leg, your front leg. Here's where it may be helpful to have your block by your front foot or front leg. As you take left hand to the block, or even a chair would be a great option. How would it be to peel your left foot off the floor like you're pulling your foot off the gas pedal to coast? Unfortunately, that probably doesn't feel like coasting for your calf, but sense into what it's like to peel the sole of your foot off the floor, but find the very center of your back heel to push into the earth. Optional, reach your top arm overhead and at the same time push through your back heel. When you're ready, press the front foot to the floor. As you find more of the steadiness through both feet, can you sense into your back foot and ankle and notice the way the outer ankle is widening and lengthening? And as that outer ankle widens and lengthens, can you keep the base of the big toe, the base of your pinky toe, and the center of your right heel firmly pressing into the floor? Exhale, downward facing dog, following your breath back. Inhale, plank pose.
This time from your plank, keep your toes tucked under as they are and come into upward facing dog. So no chaturanga in between. Push through your hands, lift your chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. We'll do that a couple more times. So with your toes tucked under, grip your big toes into the floor like you're making a fist. Inhale into plank. Exhale, push the floor away from you. And inhale into your upward facing dog as you continue to push the floor away from you. Exhale, downward facing dog. If that's working okay on your spine, try once more. Inhale, plank. Exhale, push the floor away. Inhale, upward facing dog. Chest lifts, hands press down, active through your buttocks and your feet. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now look forward. Remember that your toes propel you forward. So how would it be to take a right foot leading leap to the front of your mat? You'll bend your knees a little, and then right foot jumps forward, left foot follows. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Now, how would it be to jump both feet back behind you? So you'll probably bend your knees some. You can take little hops until you're back in down dog. Now, left foot leaps forward first. So lift your heels, look forward, jump with your left foot, then your right, top of mat. Push into your feet, inhale, reach for the sky. Exhale, arms by your sides. Pause, take a breath for nothing. From here, we'll do tree pose. Start with your feet together, if that works for you. Turn one knee out. Let's do right foot so we're both on the same side. And start to slide your right foot somewhere up the inner leg. If you want to use your hand to slide it a little higher up, you're welcome to do so. Draw outer legs towards the center like you're zipping up your pose. And optional, reach your arms up for the ceiling. As you find your steadiness here, can you sense into the center of your heel on that standing foot, the base of your big toe, and the base of your pinky toe? And now can you find so much steadiness here that the micro adjustments that happen between the tripod, those three legs of the stool, and your foot are really small and really elegant in the way they work together. When you're ready, slowly lower your arms. Bring right foot to the floor, switch sides. Again, if you happen to be on carpet today, my apologies. Things just got a little bit more tricky. When and if you're ready, reach your arms up and again, zip your outer legs towards the inner seam as you bring your left foot up into the tree pose. As you connect to the standing foot, what's it like here? What do you notice? What's too much? And can you really connect to the base of big toe, base of pinky toe, center of heel? When you're ready, float your arms down, set your foot to the floor. Inhale, reach your arms up, extending for the sky. Exhale, hinge and fold forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, lift halfway, lengthen. Exhale, back to downward facing dog. Inhale, reach your right leg up for the ceiling. Exhale, step your right foot forward between your hands. Inhale, lift into high lunge. Now, as you pause here in your high lunge, we're going to try something different with the feet today. Maybe taking hands to hips. Try walking your back foot and your front foot a little closer together on your mat, so you take a little step in. This will bring your front leg a little higher. Now pretend you're in those stilettos again, like you did in chair pose, and could you lift your front heel off the floor? So there's, at least a little bit of space between your front heel and the earth. And then my balance just went like, woo, this got really wobbly. And then bring that heel back down. Inhale, sweep your arms up for the ceiling. Exhale, interlace your hands behind your back and lean forward a little bit. As you lean forward, would it be possible to either have hands on hips or hands interlaced behind you as you slowly make your way into Warrior 3? Now, we played with moving in and out of Warrior 3 earlier. How does it feel to hold it here? Can you use equal part bone energy and equal part ball of foot, base of pinky toe, center of heel, and muscular energy? When you're ready, step your back foot to the floor, return to the high lunge. Exhale, downward facing dog. From your downward facing dog, left leg lifts. Reach for the sky. Exhale, step forward, high lunge. Make your stance a little shorter. Front and back foot a little closer together. Maybe hands to hips. Could you lift your front heel off the floor? And again, notice how the balance gets a little windy, a little wobbly. How do your legs move here? When you're ready, heel comes back to the earth, either hands to hips or interlace fingers opposite with other thumb closer to you, and start to lean forward. Now, either keeping hands on hips or behind you, or you can grab your chair or blocks, come into Warrior 3. Now, how does it feel to hold Warrior 3? Could you use equal part big toe, pinky toe, center of heel? Whew. Can you find the bone energy of your leg, as well as the muscular support that's offered? And can you have those different elements come together to give you more steadiness, more strength here today? Or does one feel like it's harder to get in touch with, or get tired a little faster? When you're ready, big step into the lunge. Exhale, downward facing dog. Optional vinyasa, or maybe you want to do the plank to up dog like we did, skipping chaturanga. You could always do child's pose or malasana or table, the cat-cow. Sometimes I just need a moment in down dog. Other times I need something a little bit more steadying, a little bit more calming. From your downward facing dog, lift heels, look forward. Now, could you hop both feet to your hands at the same time? Perhaps a couple small hops, eventually building to one big one. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach for the sky. Exhale, arms by your sides. We're going to experiment with a wide-legged setup into the Ardha Chandrasana. So if you have two blocks, have both. If you only have one block, then you'll probably want to carry it back and forth, although you could do this without the block if you want to experiment. Start with hands on hips, and it might be helpful to line the back of your heels up with the back of your sticky mat so that you can sense where your feet are using eyes and inner sensation. When you're ready, tip your torso forward, hinging from the front of your hips, and fold towards the earth. Nod your head yes a few times. Shake your head no a few times. keeping your feet as they are initially, parallel to one another. Bend your right knee and lean a little weight into the bent leg. And notice what happens on the outer left foot and ankle. Can you press equally between the tripod of the left foot, the heel, the base of the big toe, the base of the pinky toe? Then switch sides. Bend your left knee, straighten your right leg, and notice that outer right shin and ankle. Can you lift the inner arch of your right foot even as you lengthen the outer edge of your right ankle and foot? And come back to center. Now it might be helpful to watch for a moment. So if you like, come up to standing and take a peek at the screen. So we're gonna stay from this forward fold shape. And what you'll do is you'll turn your right toes out, kind of like you're coming into side angle or warrior two. And then from that position, you'll lift into half moon. Noticing again the propulsion of the back foot and toe. You'll bring the foot back to the earth, and then you'll walk yourself across with your head and shoulders staying low to the floor. The right toes will turn in, the left foot becomes the front leg, and you'll lift into the half moon on the second side. And then you'll go back and forth between these two like a ninja, creeping your way across your sticky mat. So whenever you're ready, start with hands in center between your 2 feet and you're folded forward. Take a breath for nothing. As you're ready, bend your right knee, turn your right toes out like warrior two, front leg, right leg. Have hand or block to the floor and launch off your left leg coming into the Ardha Chandrasana. Slowly lower back foot down, keep torso and hands low and ninja your way across. Left hand comes to block or floor. Lift your right leg up, find the steadiness. Transition both feet back to floor, tiptoe your way across with your fingertips. Lift to the Ardha Chandrasana on the other side. Now move at your own pace, navigating your way slow enough that you can feel and connect to what's happening, but smooth enough that you feel a gradual sense of ease and connection to the movement. So a moderate pace is generally the easiest. Quick or slow can make things a little bit harder. So find whatever moderate is for you. The next time you're on the right side, could you hold there for a couple seconds? Possibly reaching top arm up towards the ceiling. Maybe floating your bottom hand off the floor. Or off the block. Slowly transition to the left side. Floating back foot off the floor. Hover. Where does it help you to look? Looking to the floor is oftentimes helpful for balance. When you're ready, you can experiment with lifting your bottom hand to float off the floor. Keeping in mind that's something you can save for another day. Slowly stepping back into that wide-legged fold. Heels lined up with the back edge of your sticky mat. Nod your head yes. Shake your head no. Take a breath for nothing. Noticing how you're feeling. Or maybe remembering that scale of 1 to 10. And how would you identify your current location on that scale or current experience in relationship to that way of looking at things? When you're ready, lift your chest up about halfway. Keep your feet wide, bend your knees, take hands to hips and lift up to standing. Now turn your heels slightly in, just a little bit. With hands on hips, bend your knees like you're riding a very wide horse. And check in with your breath as you hold here. If you like, you can reach your arms out, make a fist by curling your fingers around your thumb. Thumb tucks into your hands. And then again, like in the Warrior Two, when you have to hold something, how low can you go but still feel endurance and strength? Then when you're ready, real strong push, lift up for this guy. Exhale, arms by your sides. Creep your feet towards one another. Turn to the top of your mat. Inhale, sweep your arms out and up, reach for the sky. Exhale, hinge, fold forward. Bow reverently towards your feet. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, squat down, hips to your heels for Malasana. Palms together. Notice how your feet support you in the Malasana. Malasana is just as much, if not more, of an ankle pose than it is knee and hip pose. And so notice where you feel resistance in your feet and your ankles, if you do at all. And what could you do to navigate a little less resistance and a little bit more ease? One idea is to take the feet wider apart. Sometimes that's helpful. Another idea is to take your blanket and roll it up so it is under your heels and they get like a little high heel lift. So feel free to do either of those things or both as we hold here for another couple seconds. How would it feel for you to fold forward in your Malasana, tucking your chin to your chest and curling down and in? When you're ready, lift your spine back up, set your blanket behind you on the earth and take a seat onto your blanket. Stretch your legs out to the sides. And pause for just a moment. Now we worked with a lot of different movements of the feet and the legs today. And I like to experiment a little bit with some seated work that explores some of those positions as well. So start with your legs wide, like Upavishta Konasana. Now take your right hand under your right knee and bend your right knee, bringing the right leg into the Malasana, into the squat. Now bring the right foot in a little closer so it's pointing forward instead of out. Then tip the right leg into the Baddha Konasana. Now reverse that. Right knee lifts up, pointing forward with the foot and the knee. Right foot and knee point out. They straighten. Now let's do the same thing on the left side. Left hand under the knee, come into the Malasana. Step foot and knee so they're pointing forward. Tip knee out to the side, Baddha Konasana. Reverse. Straightening the leg. Now do that once or twice more on each side, starting with the squatting position on right leg, right knee and foot forward, into the Baddha Konasana, right knee and foot forward, right knee and foot out to side, and straight. Left knee and foot out to side, left knee and foot forward, Baddha Konasana, reverse. Now, how would it be to do this without using your hands to change your foot and hip and leg position? And try the other side. Having the blanket underneath makes it a little bit easier, so you could always add more height. Next time both legs are out, pause there, and then bring your legs in, and you'll roll onto your back one vertebra at a time. Have a block within hand's reach or some sort of lift for under your hips and buttocks. So that could be a blanket if you don't have a block at home today. And as you roll down, sense into how that feels to go one vertebra at a time. With your feet on the floor, push into all four corners of the all 3 points of the tripod of your foot, and slowly use that tripod to lift up away from the floor. And slowly roll back down. And try that a couple times. Use the tripod of your foot to lift up away from the floor and slowly to roll back down. The next time you lift your hips up, hold there. You can take your arms into any position that works well for you. Oftentimes folks like to grab either the sides of the mat and pull mat away from shoulders, or potentially interlace fingers underneath your back. You could do anything else though that feels good to you. As you hold in the bridge pose, remembering the work you did in the standing pose, like the warrior two and the horse stance. And what techniques do you have to hold here and stay in it even as you start to fatigue? Breath is one technique that can help to give a little bit more endurance. Changing your form a little bit can also help to give endurance. And a tiny bit of movement is oftentimes helpful as well. Find the center of your heel, the base of your big toe and the base of your pinky toe, and push down equally through all 3 points. When you're ready, slowly slide your block underneath your hips. I recommend on its middle height or its low height. So you're still in the back bend, but now you're doing it with support. When it feels appropriate, and if you feel stable, lift one or both legs up towards the ceiling and balance on your prop. A squishy prop like a blanket or a pillow will probably feel a little bit wobbly. Now, like you began in the Supta Tadasana, point both feet, curl your toes in like you're making a fist with your feet. Flex both feet, pulling your toes towards your shin, pushing up through your heels. And do this a few times, both feet moving same direction. Then go opposite. One points up, one points down. Make some circles with your ankles. Go the other direction with your circles. And then as you spread your toes, pull your toes down towards your face, but push the balls of your feet up towards the ceiling so they're higher than your heels. It might look a little bit like you're wearing a high heel. When you're ready, bend your knees and either one foot at a time or really slowly at the same time, set both feet onto the floor. If they don't touch at the same time, which one touches first? Now, like we explored earlier, having right foot on the floor, how would it be to tuck your left toenails to the floor here? It could be helpful at this point if you have the block to bring it higher, because it'll give you more room for your pointed foot. So it's kind of like Virasana foot with one leg as you step steadily onto the other foot and leg, and then change sides. noticing how foot, ankle feel about this circumstance. When you're ready, both feet to the floor, slide the block out from underneath you and roll back to the earth. And then take about a minute to do any sort of unraveling here that helps you reset for Shavasana. So any pose that you want to do. One of my favorites to reset for Shavasana is the spinal undulation 1, which is an exhale, pressing low back to floor, scoop tailbone towards knees. And inhale, tip tailbone into the floor, feeling ribs and low back arc a bit away from the earth. Whenever you feel ready, set yourself up for Shavasana. Bringing blanket underneath your thighs or some sort of cushion to lift your legs. And let yourself rest on your back or on your side or belly or even seated. Any way that you have a chance to settle and soak in. Like you began your practice today, checking in with how you feel, what you're noticing. And on a scale of 1 to 10, with honesty, how would you identify where you are? And if there were 2 words that describe what you're noticing, what you're feeling right now, what might those 2 words be? And carefully fold your hands in to rest on your torso. Slowly bend your knees and feel them tuck in as well. Roll to one side, using your arm as a pillow for your head as you're in a fetal or an embryo position for just a moment. When you feel ready, push through the bones of your arms to lift your way up to seated. Bring palms together in front of your heart. Checking in with what you're feeling and noticing. And remembering this technique of identifying and naming what you're feeling and how you're feeling. And there's something about this process that by naming what you're feeling can help to reduce its intensity, especially if it's something that feels relatively uncomfortable. So you might practice it, not only in your asana practice, but also as you move through your life and your world in these days where there's lots of new things happening. Lots of new things to learn and understand. Make a bow forward and honor yourself, sending gratitude for the time and effort that it took for you to get here, and for the presence and attention you offered during this time. I thank you for sharing your practice today. It's such an honor to be able to move and connect with you in this way. Thank you.